Okay, in this part of the chapter, we are going to talk about project management in information security. So what is a project management? Project management is the process of identifying and controlling the resources to apply a project, as well as measuring progress and adjusting the process as progress is made toward a specific goal. How can information security be both a process and a project? Actually, as we say, it's a continuous series or continuous chain of projects. Some aspects of information security are not project-based. Rather, they are being managed as a project or they are operational, but they are ongoing as well. Projects are discrete sequences of activity with a starting point and also a defined completion point. As we know, project has a start time and a stop time. A project is different from a process because process can be ongoing, in that it is a temporary activity that is used to create a specific product, service, or end result. And project is temporary, but process is something that's ongoing. So in this diagram, you can see the information security program chain. So each chain or each link in this project should be a specific project. So each project is to be guided by the security system development lifecycle methodology. So project management, as I've explained it before also, and also it is defined in the project management body of knowledge by Duncans, it's the application of knowledge, skill, tools, and technique to the project activities to meet project requirement. The project management is accomplished through use of process, such as initiation, planning, execution, controlling, and closing. So these are the phases of the project management. Project management involves the temporary assembling resources to complete a project. Some projects are basically iterative and they can occur regularly. So a lot of companies that make project management skills a priority, they can benefit from one of these ways. Implementing a methodology that no steps are missed, because you have to follow each steps in a sequence. Creating a detailed blueprint of project activities, provide a common reference tool, and make all project team members more productive by shortening the learning curve when getting project underway. So that blueprint of project activities is important in this part. Identifying specific responsibilities. So each person should have a specific responsibility for the task that they are doing. Also clearly defining project constraints. So you need to define project constraints, and minimum quality requirements increases the likelihood that the project will stay within them. Also establish performance measure and milestone. Milestone is an important part of the project management and it simplifies the project monitoring. Also identify deviation in quality, time, or budget early on, and enable early correction of the problem. So if you need to change something, make sure you act early, because when you are into the project, like if you are in the middle of the project or at the end of the project, it's very hard to change what the task that you needed to do, or maybe the budget or whatever. So make sure that any change that you want to do it early on. So successful project management rely on creative, realistic project planning, also with aggressive, proactive control. So you need to have a lot of control in place when you are managing a project. Project success may be defined differently in each organization. But in general, how can we say a project is successful? So the project is successful when it's completed on time or early, when it's completed on budget or below budget, and when it meets all the specification that's outlined in the approved project definition and the deliverables which are acceptable by the users. So in these terms, we can say that the project is successful. But the goal, regardless of these measures, the goal of the project is the same. The goal is that we need to have all the elements of the information security program completed with the quality that is that you can deliver on time and within the budget. So this is what we need to keep in mind. So we need to have the quality on time within the budget. So we keep saying that we need to apply project management to information security. But first we must identify and establish project management methodology. There are a lot of approaches to project management. One of them, which is supported by Project Management Institute, is called PMBOK. It's considered one of the industry best practices. So the PMBOK knowledge areas is dealing with communication, cost, human resources, integration, procurement, quality, risk, scope, stakeholder, and time. So there is a process and focus for each of these knowledge areas that we can actually follow each process. And for example, in the cost, we need to estimate financial cost of resources, developing the financial budget, using financial budget to control the cost. So the focus should be in managing the financial resources in order to commit the project. Now let's look at some of the project management tools that are out there. There are a lot of tools that support management of the diverse resource in complex project management. Most project management managers, they combine the software tools that implement one or more modeling approaches. So there is a Microsoft project that you can purchase, or there are a lot of open source project management tool that can involve even the communication, the documentation, and also the work breakdown structure, such as Zoho. Project management is one tool, or there are other open source softwares that you can use. So you don't want the project manager to spend more time documenting the project than actually performing. So you need to find a tool that automates that process for you. One of the tools that helps, and also this is defined in the project Microsoft project, is work breakdown structure. So project plan can be created using a simple planning tool such as WBS. In WBS, the project plan is first broken down into a smaller task. So you have the main project and you break it down into a smaller task. Each of these tasks is placed on the work breakdown task list. So you will have a various tasks for maybe each part of the project. The minimum attributes that should be determined for each task are the work to be accomplished, the activities, and deliverables. So what are you going to deliver in this task? The estimated amount, like if it's going to take 2 days, 4 days, or 6 days, and the common or skills that needed. Maybe a project manager can do this. Maybe the analyst can do this. And also the task interdependencies. So when you are creating a task, you need to see what other task can this task affect, so that you can actually connect the project to the next task, or the interdependencies to the dependent task that you need to create. As the project plan develops, additional attributes can be added. So also when you create your work breakdown structure, when you have your task, when you have your time, the duration of it, the assigned person, you can also estimate the expense for each task. You can estimate the capital and non-capital expense. You can also do start and end date, work to be accomplished, amount of effort that's needed, skill set that's needed, task dependencies, also estimated non-capital expenses and something like that. You can also add additional attributes to it. So this is an example of a work breakdown structure. As I mentioned, you can create this through a Microsoft project or other tools such as Zoho project or something like that are on the cloud nowadays. So these are the tasks. You can see the effort, the skills that's needed, and then the dependencies. So number 2 is dependent to number 1. So number 1 has to be finished before you can do number 2, and so on. Task sequence approach. Once a project reaches even a relatively modest size, maybe you have few dozen tasks, there can be almost innumerable possibilities for task assignment and scheduling. A number of approaches to help the project manager in sequencing effort can actually be helpful, such as network scheduling. For sequencing tasks in a project plan is called network scheduling. When we talk about network, don't think about we are talking about computer networks. It refers basically to the possible pathways to the project completion from the beginning task to the end task. Maybe as an example, we can say activity A must occur before activity B, which in turn must occur before activity C. So a network diagram can actually show activity A, maybe install a firewall, then you can configure the rules, and then you can test it. And you can draw that in terms of a network diagram, as you can see in here. So this is a simple network dependencies. The complex network dependencies is this one as well. So this is also another, you can show it like that. Another technique that a lot of people, they might use is called PERT, Program Evaluation and Review Technique, which is also developed in 1950s, but still is being used. Also something called Critical Path Method, or CPM, which also being developed in the industries. So the PERT diagram. So it's possible to take a very complex operation and diagram it in PERT. If we can answer three questions: how long will this activity take? What activity occurs immediately before this activity can take? And what activity occurs after this activity? By identifying the path through the various activity, we can determine the critical path. As each possible path through the project is analyzed, the difference in time between the critical path and any other path is called slack time, which indicates of how much time is available for starting a non-critical task without delaying the whole project. So this can actually, if you still have time, you can say, okay, we can start this non-critical task, and it's not going to affect our project. Should a delay be introduced, whether due to poor time estimate or some unexpected event, or if you need to reassign the resources, such as the critical path, the task with the slack time are the logical candidates for the delay. So this is an example of the PERT. As you can see, this is a PERT diagram, Program Evaluation and Technique diagram. So this technique has some advantages and some disadvantages. Some of the advantages of this is that make planning large project easier by identifying pre and post activities, also allowing planning to determine the probability of meeting requirements. Also, it can help impact of any changes that you can have on the system, and you can present the information in a straightforward format that both the technical manager and non-technical manager can understand that. And also it requires no formal training. Some of the disadvantages of that it can be the diagram can be awkward, and sometimes it's going to be cumbersome in the very big projects. Diagram can become expensive to develop and maintain due to complexity of the time of the project development process, and it can be difficult to place an accurate time to complete on some of the tasks, especially at the initial stage. We have other methods that can also help the project manager, and they use it widely, and it's part of the MS project as well. It's called Gantt chart. So it's named for Henry Gantt, who developed that in early 1900 as well. Like network diagram, Gantt charts are also easy to read and understand, and it can be very easily presented to the management. These simple bar charts are even easier to design and implement than PERT diagrams. So a lot of managers, they use this Gantt chart, which is actually being automated as part of the MS project. So this is a Gantt chart. So as you can see, you have the task, the starting date, the end date, so you have the duration, and these are being implemented by the MS project automatically. And then you have the dependencies, as you can see in here. And when you have something like that, this is called the milestone. So Microsoft Project is widely used to automate this. If you are considering using an automated project management tool, you need to keep some things in mind. A software program cannot take the place of a skilled project manager. So the tool is there to help the project manager, but it cannot replace the skill of the project manager. And a software tool can get a way of work and also choose a tool that everybody in the company are used to using it. So if everybody is comfortable with using MS Project, use that. If you are choosing an open source software or any online cloud software like Zoho Project, maybe everybody needs to be trained with that and use that. So that's it for this chapter. Now let's look at the summary, what we have learned in these chapters. So now let's see. The first thing that we talked about is information security program. What that is that information security program, what we mean is to describe the structure of the organization, of the effort that contain risk to the information asset of an organization. So we talked about in the large organization, there are specific information security functions to be performed by a specialized group of staff. In a smaller organization, the function may be carried out by all members of organization. So maybe one person can carry out many roles. Information security functions, they should be separated into 4 areas. Function performed by non-technical area of organization, outside of the IT area of the management control, function performed by IT group outside the information security, function performed within the information security department as a customer service to the organization and its partner, and function performed within the information security department as a compliance enforcement obligation. Implementation of a full-time security personnel will vary depending on the size of the organization. So we talked about a very large organization or a typical large organization will have 1 or 2 full-time managers, 3 to 4 part-time technician or administrators. A very large organization may have 20 full-time security personnel and about 40 part-time responsibility. In a medium-sized organization, it may have only 1 full-time security personnel and as many as 3-4 part-time. And in a smaller organization, they may have either 1 individual with full-time duties or 1 individual who is a part-time manager. So information security positions also can be classified into 3 areas. Those that define it, those that build it, and those who administrate it. The setup program is the responsibility of Chief Information Security Officers, and also it is designed to reduce the incidence of accidental security breaches in the company. So setup programs improve employees' behavior and also help the organization to hold employees accountable for their action. When we design a specific category of users training, it is more effective if we know their skill level and also the background. In a very large organization, we may have more than 20 full-time security personnel, which includes training users not only what they should or should know, but how they should do it. There are 2 methods of customizing training for users, one by a skill level and then the other one is by functional. Training delivery can also be delivered in various methods such as web seminars, user support groups, formal classes, computer-based training, self-study, distance learning, and so on. A security awareness program can also deliver its message via videotapes, newsletter, posters, also mini conferences, flyers, also talks or lectures. The last part of this chapter, we talked about the project management, which is necessary to implement a information security program. Project management is the applicable of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to the project activities to meet the project requirements and goals. Project management can be in different phases: initiation phase, planning phase, execution phase, controlling, and as well as closing phase. We talked about in project management process, we need to, in the first step in the planning, we need to create a work breakdown structure, which we are breaking one major task into various smaller tasks. A set of methods that can be used to sequence the task and subtask in a project is called network scheduling. There are popular techniques that we talked about, PERT techniques, and also we talked about Gantt chart, and this can be automated into MS Project, and the project managers can use the MS Project to benefit them in order to create the project plan. That's it for this chapter. I hope you have enjoyed this. Remember, this week you won't have an assignment, but you have 2 discussions that you need to participate in, and I'm gonna put the requirements on the Canvas website. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.